Hello, Tuscaloosa. Welcome to our second Writer's Corner, which is introducing introductions. This video is just going to explain to you guys exactly how to write an introduction effectively. Our learning goal for today is that you guys are going to be able to write your introductions when you write your multi-paragraph essays this year. So let's go ahead and get started. So remember, when you see the little pencil icon, that's just a little hint that it's a good idea to take some notes on that section. So feel free to take notes when you see that pencil. All right, so our video today is going to just tell you guys about how effective introductions have three components. The hook of the introduction, the line, and then also the sinker. So it's kind of a fishing metaphor, the idea that when you want to get your reader invested into what you're trying to say in your essay, you're kind of like hooking them like you hook a fish. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing, getting our readers interested in what we have to say. All right, so like I said, we've got our hook, our line, and our sinker. So this is a good page to take some notes on, guys. Your hook, you got to catch your reader's attention with your opening sentence. It should hook their interest enough to make them want to continue reading what you have written. You don't want to restate the questions and avoid bland factual statements. This is kind of like your entertaining, interesting beginning of your essay. You also want to write something that's clever yet accurate. Think about, emotional or descriptive language. You want to approach your topic from a unique angle or perspective, and you want to take your time and put some thought into your first sentence. It should always reflect the quality of the rest of your work. So this is really an important sentence. It's kind of like when you first introduce yourself to somebody, a lot of times that is a very important moment. Do you like the person? Do you not like the person? It's like that whole first impression thing. So, all right, so let's look at the line. This is the section of your introduction that you want to start to bring in some of the related material that was mentioned in the prompt or the passage set. You aren't quoting any material yet. It's all very general still at this point, but introduce the topic that you're talking about. You're hinting at what's to come. It should reflect the primary focus of your essay, and the reader should be able to relate the remainder of the paper to this line. So it's pretty important too. I also like to think about the line too kind of as a transition between how does your hook and your sinker, how do they connect? Last but not least, guys, we have our sinker. Last sentence of your introduction, it needs to clearly state your controlling idea or claim. Remember, in an informational essay, it's a controlling idea. In an argumentative essay, it's going to be a claim. You want to use clear and concise language, and don't, it's not writing in this paper, ... that is going to be not a good way to start your sinker. And if you need help with writing a controlling idea or claim, we will have a whole nother video on that. So, but for now, this is what I need you guys to remember. In our introductions, we have a hook, a line, and a sinker. All right, so let's talk about a hook. I know you've probably been hearing about this since you were in elementary school, but we are actually changing it up a little bit in 7th grade. So let's talk about exactly what a hook is, though. So nobody wants to read a boring essay, not even me. A hook grabs your reader's attention. It helps them want to read your essay, all right? We have some options for an effective hook. You can use a personal example. So something that you personally have encountered that has something to do with the topic you're writing about. You can also use a quotation, but this is not a quotation from your sources you have. So just realize that. So if you know a quotation off the top of your head, you're more than welcome to use that. That's kind of a tricky one to use. Facts or statistics, if you know some facts about what's going on in your topic, that can be something you can use there. A surprising statement about your topic is always a good way to go too. Background information on your topic. Do you know anything about it, or something general from the source but not quoted? This is my favorite one, number 6, a snapshot of a character or setting using figurative or sensory language. I think that one usually comes out really well if you can make it work for your topic. And then the last one is an imagine if statement. So sometimes getting your reader to think about something along the lines of whatever your topic's about is an interesting way to get them engaged. So those are all different options. the only one you're going to notice that isn't here, and I'm about to talk about that in another slide in a second, is the question. We do not use question hooks in 7th grade. It's just not it's kind of tired. It's overused. Everyone uses it. It's so last year, so we're just not going to use it. And same for 8th grade. We're not going to use that as well. All right, so a couple of things. These are some things not to do in an introduction. So first of all, you don't, like I just said, don't begin your hook with a question. You're also not going to be actually using evidence yet. You don't want to bring evidence into your introduction. You want to save that for your body paragraphs. The other thing I don't want to see is a conversational tone. And what that means is, and this is true for your whole essay, it just means that you're not speaking to your reader through the essay. And what I mean by that is, you're not going to use language that you would use with your best friend. You're going to use language you would use in a business meeting or a professional event. This is a professional tone that we're using. So just keep that in mind as you're writing your entire essay. All right, something I like to kind of show my students, and some people it helps them and some people it doesn't. So if it doesn't help you, just kind of listen. But I like to think about my whole essay like an hourglass. And what I mean by that is you can kind of think about your introduction like the top half of the hourglass. You guys see how it's kind of like broad at the top and then it goes, thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner until it gets to that little section in the middle where the sand goes through. That's kind of what your introduction does. It's going to start really general at the top with your hook, just something general about, to keep your reader's interest or to spark your reader's interest, I should say. And then as you keep going with your introduction, guys, it just gets more and more specific. So your line, you're starting to bring some information in about your topic. And then your sinker is going to be the most specific. It's going to explain exactly what your essay is going to be about. So I like to think about that. And then the reason why I like to think about it like an hourglass is when we get into conclusions, which is going to be a whole nother video, but when we get into those conclusions, you can think about your conclusion like the second half of that hourglass. It's the opposite of the introduction. It starts really specifically, and then it grows to, more of a general idea of what's going on. So I can show you guys some examples of that when we get into the conclusion video, but I just like this metaphor. So if it helps you, go ahead and remember. Otherwise, we'll move it right along. So here's an example of an effective introduction. So we've got our hook, our line, and our sinker here. Our hook is going to be the first couple sentences. It says, "Imagine if you found a treasure chest, but no one believed your discovery. Your parents wouldn't let you go back and get the box full of gold. Everyone laughed at you and called you a liar. Would you ever be able to prove your discovery?" So this is a really great hook. It's an imagine if statement. Some people might be like, "But Ms. Orlando, there's a question here." Well, that's okay. The reason why I said no questions is you don't want to start your hook with a question. The first sentence should not be a question. But you can have a rhetorical question, later down in your hook. That's fine. So that's going to be our hook. It's getting our reader's attention. We have an imagine if statement there. So our line is, something similar to this has happened to Barry Clifford, an underwater explorer who claims to have found Columbus's lost ship, the Santa Maria. However, he has had many criticizers because of his lack of evidence. So this line, guys, is giving us a little information about the topic of this essay. So we know that it's going to be talking about Barry Clifford. We know, about, something about Columbus's lost ship. And we also know that he maybe doesn't have enough evidence in his, story in order for us to believe it. So we're getting a little more information about the topic here. And it looks like they got this information from the sources. So it's not quoted, right? But you can take some general information from your sources in order to, include it into your introduction, and that's fine. So here's our sinker. Evidence is a crucial part of important discoveries because without it, people will conclude you are lying, and collaboration is needed to confirm discoveries. So that's going to be the controlling idea of this essay. The prompt is asking, is evidence an important part of discovery? So they're answering that question, and I just know exactly what this whole essay is going to be about with that last sentence there. All right, guys. So now that you've seen, you've seen an example of an introduction, and you have taken some notes on what an effective introduction looks like. Now we're going to practice writing one. So it's your turn to try. What I want you to do is make sure you're using your notes. If you have access to your computer, while you're watching. I know a couple of classes have access. So if you do have access, you're more than welcome to rewind this video. If you want to look at spots again, that's fine. If I went too fast, so definitely okay to do that. But go ahead and your teacher will let you know exactly what prompt to use to write your introduction. So good luck, guys, and I hope everyone learned something today.